click recording. So you're now on record. So once again, good morning to my fellow teachers in the Philippines, and also good afternoon. No, not good afternoon. Good evening. It's already 6 p.m. here, guys, um, in Red Mesa. So I'll just give you a heads up of what is going on in this meeting. And first and foremost, I'd like to thank you for accepting this invitation. I really appreciate your time. As what I promised, it will take only 30 minutes. But what happened with my student, actually before this, I had a Zoom meeting with my students, Filipinos and Navajos. And since we enjoyed the conversation, instead of having 30 minutes, we did an hour. So I hope we can make it in 30 minutes, but if not, I would still ask for your permission if we can go ahead and continue if we're past 30 minutes. But yes, based on what I have sent to you guys as part of the invitation, I have mentioned there the topics, the possible topics that we're going to discuss in this Zoom meeting. It'll be about students' behavior. Let me review that one. It'll be teaching styles that you're using in the Philippines and here in Red Mesa. Students' behavior, what are students like in the Philippines and here in America, and school environment. And also there will be a bonus for that. It will be, I would love to invite everyone or encourage everyone to share Filipino culture and American culture, especially Native American culture. So I believe we're ready to start. So let me introduce, I believe you can introduce yourself, but let me introduce myself. I am Mr. Jelford. I am a J1 participant here in America. I am with the Cultural Exchange Teacher Program of the U.S. Department of State. Hi, Miss Mitchell. Thank you so much for joining in.
Hi there.
All right. Yes, so this is part of our requirement as a J1 visa holder. We're going to make a report of our cultural exchange activity, and we are going to let our home country teachers and the teachers here where I'm teaching at to share some of the things that we have there in the Philippines and the things that we also are doing here in America. So let me start with Miss Garcia. Miss Garcia, you can start introducing yourself, what you're teaching, and yeah, anything. Just say about
Yeah,
yourself.
hello. Good evening there in America. Hi, I'm Gavaris Garcia. Then I've been in the Department of Education for 7 years now, and I'm handling grade 10 students. And currently, I am also an English coordinator here in the Philippines. That's all.
Thank you, Gabriel. Next, we have Lavena.
Hi, my name is Lavena. I'm from Arizona, the Navajo Nation. It's good to see all of you. I'm still in the education field, but I was doing the fast forward reading program for the last 3 years, but contract ended, so I'm still continuing their journey here.
Thanks, Lavena. How about Fidelina?
Hi, good evening. I am Fidelina Villarmea. It's my 24th year in education, and I am handling grade 9 students. I am an English teacher. I love reading, I love learning, and I also love watching historical classical movies and documentaries that talks about people, society, and culture. Thank you.
Thank you, Fidelina. Yes, Dexter.
Hi everyone. This is I am here because I want to support my friend Jelford. I'm also under the status. This is my second year here in America. I also originally came from the Philippines. I taught there for 14 years. I taught algebra and calculus in Laguna. That's like north. That's like 70 miles south of Manila, which is the capital. So The reason why I want to join is to learn something because 75% of our students here in Cuba. Anyway, I'm here. I'm currently teaching here. I'm currently teaching here in Cuba, New Mexico, and 75 of our students are same Native Americans, specifically Binay. Okay, so in here, this is my third year, and I was assigned to teach here algebra and financial literacy. Please meet me
Thank you
all.
so much, Dexter. Let's go with Donald.
Hey everyone, I'm Donald Babiano and I am here in the Philippines, from the Philippines, and I am a grade school teacher. The same with Mom Gavaris Garcia. I am also the English coordinator in our school, and I've been teaching English, music, arts, physical education, and health subjects for like 6 years already. And I was actually just hired to teach in Las Vegas, Nevada, in J.D. Smith Middle School. However, because of the moratorium, I guess it would be difficult for us to be part of the cultural exchange program right now. And so we are still waiting, and we are keeping our fingers crossed to pursue our journey to teach in the U.S. I think that would be it.
Thank you so much, Donald. Appreciate that. Let's have Joanne.
Hi everyone, I am John Española. I've been teaching music, arts, physical education, and health for 16 years now, and I would love to hear and share experiences, especially with you, my co-teachers.
Thank you so much, Joanne. And let's go with Rachel.
Hi there. I'm Rachel Mitchell. I'm from the Navajo Nation as well. I teach English at Red Mesa High School, and I'm next door neighbors with Jelford.
Thank you, Rachel. And let's go with Alberto.
Hi, have a great evening to everyone and good morning to my fellow teachers here in the Philippines. My name is Alberto T1. I am teaching handling grade 10 students. I am a mathematics teacher. I am currently applying or pursuing my application as a J1 teacher applicant in the United States. Hopefully, I get hired this year, or I will be hired this year. And uh, I really love teaching because this is my passion. My passion is to teach, and I love sharing my knowledge and expertise to my students. And of course, I think being a teacher is not just a profession, it is a vocation as well. So I am very happy to see you all, guys, and thank you, Jelford, for
Okay. Um, Thank you so much, Alberto, for that very nice introduction of yourself. You did well.
yeah.
All right. Let's have Marianne.
Hello.
Yes, Marianne,
Hello,
we
can you
can
hear
hear
me?
you. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Can I have the question, please?
No,
Because I joined
I'm just
later
letting everyone
maybe.
to introduce themselves and, just say
Oh, I
something about
see.
yourself so everyone would know what are you teaching, your experience and that.
Okay. Hello, fellow teachers. I'm Mary Ann Gabisan, and I am from Moncayo National High School. Jelford is my co-teacher before here, and he's also my friend. I am teaching, I've been teaching for 13 years, and I have taught in private and public schools. And, oh, who's crying? Okay. I am handling math subjects: music, arts, physical education, and health. Though I am a mathematics major, quite ironic on my part because I've been teaching far away from my major, but I thank God for the privileges of teaching our students here. I took the challenge of teaching not just my major, but also other subjects because of the scarcity of teachers in our school. And I enjoy a lot and I learned a lot. And it's so nice to be exploring other subjects also. And yeah, I agree with Alberto that teaching is indeed a noble profession because really need to, shall I say, extend our patience to our students, most especially that we are dealing with 50 to 60 students in each section, and we are handling 4 to 5 class in just one subject. So it's quite challenging, but it's really nice, and it's really good to be influencing the lives of the students. That would be all, Jelford.
Thank you so much, Marianne, for that wonderful introduction and sharing of some just a short experience that you had in the Department of Education in the Philippines. Let's have Lavelda, Charlie.
My name is Lavelda. I've been teaching on and off for about close to 12 years, and I teach English here at the high school. And this is my little girl, Robin, that you can see. She's taken over my professional development certificate and is now scribbling all over it.
All right, thank you so much, Lavelda. I know there's still one teacher in the Philippines.
Oh, I was going to say, I can't see myself. I don't know how to see myself.
Now we can see you. Now we can see you. All right.
You can see.
Where's Robin?
She's over on this side. Do you want to
Okay. All right. I know there's one Filipino teacher who's trying to get in. It is Lordeline, but we'll go ahead and start. And yeah, I'll just go ahead and admit her once she's able to participate in this Zoom meeting. So it's nice that we have everyone introduce themselves, and I appreciate again your time, guys. So basically, I'll be presenting a we have three topics that we're about to talk about, and I would just like to hear from you guys your thoughts about it. I want you to share based on your personal experience, based on what you have observed, based on what you perceive, based on what you have seen around the school environment that you are in. Especially in my co-teachers in the Philippines, we came from I came from the same school, and also we have an elementary teacher here from the Philippines as well. So now let me just inform everyone, I'm going to mute you all, and then once you're ready to talk, you just raise your hand. You can do it virtually because you can see there in the, I guess, the bottom part of your phone. You can raise your hands there. I will mute everyone, so we'll not be hearing noise, so we can hear everyone clearly once someone is speaking. And I'll go ahead and unmute you once you're ready to talk. Is that okay?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
All right, so I muted everyone now. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is teaching styles. What are the teaching styles in the Philippines? And I want the Filipinos first to share what are the teaching styles that they use in the Philippines. So, you can have a share of those styles with these American teachers that we have here, to Rachel, Lavelda, and Lavena. So who would like to start first? What are the teaching styles that you use? Or maybe you can start with what is that teaching style that you use the most, that you find effective in, I know there is no single teaching style that is effective in every, in all classes, but what do you use usually as a teacher there in the Philippines? So let's start with the Filipinos. You can raise your hands like that. I can see you in the video, so you can just do that. Anyone from the Philippines? Yes, Alberto, I'll go ahead and unmute you. You can unmute yourself. Please unmute yourself first. Yeah, there you go. That's it.
Me. Okay. So I have been teaching for almost 15 years already, both in private and public schools. I only have one. Uh, I op- I usually use one teaching style, that is a group activity, because aside from teaching mathematics, it is also applicable in MAPE, where I used to teach here in our school for several years. And group activity, because everyone is given uh, their chance to express themselves, what they have learned from the lessons. And of course, by doing the group activity, everyone is free to share, and everyone is given the task, and the task will be easily finished or passed, because everyone is helping, is working on it. I love doing the group activity as my way of teaching, as my way of teaching to my students, because by doing so, especially in mathematics, because we, as we all know, that math is not that easy. It needs more uh, trial and error, and it needs more understanding and even comprehension in order to get the process. So I always believe that uh, uh, two or more heads are better than one. So everyone is working, everyone is helping. So I think it is very easy for them. So
All
that's
right.
it.
Thank you so much, Alberto, for that sharing. Um, let's have another Filipino who will, share teaching style that they. Yes, Gavaris, I'll go ahead and unmute you.
Okay, hello. I would like, when we are going to talk about teaching strategies, as a teacher, I believe that we have different teaching style because every classroom has, we have our different culture when it comes to our own classroom. So I just would like to continue to add with the idea of Mr. Kiwan that about group activity. So in my case, I am an English teacher. So I usually in my class, I usually do cooperative learning when it comes to my teaching style because in cooperative learning, I usually integrate different teaching strategy, just like, for example, a round robin strategy, wherein students are being grouped into 3 to 4 groups, and then they are allowed within the groups to ask questions on the certain problems given by the teacher. And then on that group also, they are given the time to share ideas and then come up with a common idea as a group. So this is just an extension of the idea of Mr. Kiwan that usually here in the Philippines, we usually do group activity and cooperative learning. That's it.
Thank you so much, Gavaris, for that wonderful sharing. Yes, Fidelina.
In my own experience as an English teacher, I usually use tier instruction to address the learning abilities, the different learning abilities of the students. For example, if I will be teaching short stories, now, for example, the lower, the low performing students will get the characters, will get the setting, and the high performing students will do the getting the theme and analyze the author's purpose of writing that short story. Tier
All right.
instruction.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Fidelina, for that. How about Donald?
aside from the teaching strategies, the teaching styles being mentioned earlier, I am also teaching English here in the Philippines, and so what I usually use in my class is communicative language teaching approach. It's like using relating the topics or the activity to real life situation, real life context, so that all of the learners will be able to realize the importance of what they are learning, and it's like all of the learners will be able to put into real life situation, uh, realize how important their learning is. For example, since my students in the public elementary school are all diverse, they come from uh, different locations, they live from different areas here in our district. I might assume that I am just new to the area and would ask them to convince me to describe their places, and by doing that, they will be able to convince me to live in their areas. So, uh, yes, that's what I usually do. And aside from using communicative language approach, I do usually integrate technology in teaching them, like using televisions, using PowerPoint presentations. Pupils are actually have normally have a short attention span, so they need their lessons to be animated. They need their lessons to be uh, interesting, and so integration of technological devices are, I think, deemed necessary in teaching here in the Philippines.
All right. Thank you so much, Donald, for that sharing. Now let's hear from the American teachers. I want to start maybe with Miss Mitchell, Rachel. I'll go ahead and unmute you first. Sorry. You can unmute yourself.
Okay, can you
There you
hear
go.
me now?
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. Well, what I do is like what the last person said, students have short attention spans. So I do incorporate technology, such as PowerPoint, and I really wish our Chromebooks were working. That would be nice to, you know, use Google Classroom. What else do I do? Um, another teacher mentioned that they do tiered learning. I guess that's differentiating instruction here in America. I do that. I mean, I do all kinds of things. I've been teaching for close to 20 years. And so I do group activities. I do peer-to-peer. It's just so many things, so many strategies I've been, using throughout the years. And it's just trying to keep the kids' attention for 50-something minutes.
I know.
It's hard, but it's
It is.
doable. It's doable.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much, Miss Mitchell. And let's go with Miss Charlie Lavelda.
Okay. Sorry, this little one wants to say hi. She's on the side over here.
Oh, Robin, say hi to the camera.
They want to say hi. I'm trying to say hi all this whole time. I've been teaching for about 12 years and I'm doing English. And one of the things that I really have worked on this year in particular is really focusing on having conversations with the text. And so with that, I've had to really look at pre-starting their conversations. So guiding their conversation in particular with focused questions that they've always got to answer each and every time. So for example, if we're reading a poem or something, they've got to go through the 10 questions, specific 10 questions each and every time. So repetition, constant repetition are some of the things that I've had to use in order for students to finally get to the point where it feels natural. Otherwise, what happens is if I just say, okay, here's a poem, go and talk about it, they talk for like 10 seconds and then that's it. And they don't have anything else to say. It's beyond, I like the poem or I like the reading. It was good. And that's the extent of it. So I always found that challenging. So this year in particular, what I did was really structure their conversations so that each and every time we start a conversation about a text, they have to follow the certain steps each and every time. Even though it was repetition and every movement was repetitive for each conversation, toward the end of the year is when I started seeing that they no longer needed that jumping off point, because at that point they finally found they finally found like it felt normal to them to have these conversations. So that was one of the things I really focused on. It was repetition and having guided starting points, so that way they know what it feels like to jump into a conversation instead of feeling like I don't know how to talk, I don't know how to speak to my peer beyond it was good. I don't know, I liked it. You know, so that was the biggie for me. That's Jelford, you look like John, I guess. So
All right,
so
thank
that's
you so much. Yeah, thank you so much, Miss Charlie. All right, now I know that we all have different teaching styles that we are using at in our own classroom setting, and I know it will be different from each, you know, class that we are dealing with. Especially if you're dealing with mathematics, you're dealing with English, science. You know, you have to use different strategies that you have to make sure that learning will still be delivered to your clients, which are your students. Now, I know I hope I can ask everyone, you know, every one of you guys to share, but we have a limited time. So what I'm going to do is that we're going to proceed with the next topic, and then I'll let everyone who was not shared to share in that kind of, you know, in their perspective in that kind of topic. So we'll have students' behavior. So I would like to ask this from the Filipino teachers. I know I've been there. I've been teaching there for 8 years in the Philippines, and I know that it's challenging to deal with Filipino kids. At the same time, it is also rewarding. So can you share, any one of you guys, can you share how students behave in the Philippines? So this, you know, this American teachers can also like will have the idea of what are students like in the Philippines. So who will do that first? From those who did not share yet from the Philippines. Maybe Marianne? We can't hear you. There. All right. Waiting for audio. All right. So we'll wait for that. Oh, you are muted. So,
Hi.
all right, there you go. I can hear you now.
All right. Here in the Philippines, we're dealing with diverse learners, most especially that um, we have different cultures and traditions. Excuse me,
There's feedback, so I'll be muting everyone. All right. So, Marianne, do you hear me? I'm sorry. So we might have some, you know, technical problems here. I know internet connection in the Philippines is not really as good as we have here in America, so we have to consider that part. Marianne, do you hear me now?
Hello,
Yes.
Ford, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. We can hear you now.
Oh, I'm sorry. Uh, Hello.
Yeah,
Hi,
there.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Um, as what I have said, we are dealing here in the Philippines diverse learners because we have lots of students. Most especially, we're dealing 50 to 60 students in one section, and some of the teachers are we are handling 4 to 6 sections a day. So it's quite a huge number of students to deal with every day. And of course, since not all our students are really having a great time at home, most of them are really experiencing family problems, of which push them to misbehave in school. So it's quite also challenging to deal with them. And we have also students who come to school late. Yeah, the usual thing that our students are doing, because some of our students comes from far-flung areas. They need to travel, they need to transport, and yeah, and sometimes the weather is not really good, so we are experiencing tardiness here in the Philippines. At the same time, we have also juvenile delinquent broken families, and they're really making a great scene within our classes, and which might sometime interrupt our discussion. So it's also quite challenging. But because we're taught on how to deal with them, so we were able also to treat them well. And one good thing that I usually do in handling these students is, of course, to have a one-on-one friendly conference, not a conference in which there are someone to report to like this and like that, but a friendly conversation of what happened to them, and then in that way we can address their needs and how to deal with them also, why they are misbehaving like this and like that. Of course, we are also dealing with cultural students, like what Jelford had shared to us, that he is handling Navajo. What's
Navajo,
that?
yeah,
Yeah,
Navajo.
yeah, Navajo. Yeah, yeah. It's also the same with us because we are having different tribal groups here in the Philippines, particularly here in our place, and some of our students also English or vernacular is not their native tongue. So there is also that great challenge in how to address the needs of those students who really can't understand English or, yeah, Tagalog, because they are used to speaking to their native language, like our Muslim students. Or, yeah, they used to speak in Tausog, Maranao, and uh, their native language. So it's uh, shall I say, language also makes a great barrier in learning as we deal with our students. So that would be all.
All right. Thank you so much, Marianne. I appreciate that. And um, I guess we still have more time to hear some of the comments or your observation on the students' behavior there in the Philippines with Miss Joanne.
Yes, hello everyone. Just like what Mary Ann said, that being a teacher here in the Philippines is quite challenging because of the huge numbers of diverse learners that we are dealing. But one good thing about them is that they're easy to deal with, and in the sense that I should say, like in my subject, my students are great imitators. So, and I'd love to see them. I don't love to see them imitating their teachers, but talking about the classroom setting, the strategies that I am giving them. So could be glad. But there are also behaviors in school that detracts learning. For example, there's a turnout in learning, like the students used to get out of the classroom without asking permission from the teacher, and it's usual here in the Philippines. And not only that, there are also disruptive students. But as I've said, Filipino students are really easy to deal with. You know, you can talk to them in private, or you can call their attention. So I should say that it's good to be a teacher with this kind of students, the Filipino students. So that would be all.
Thank you, Joanne. And yes, I know we've been sharing maybe these American teachers, Lavena, Rachel, Lavelda, even Dexter here teaching in America. We might be sometimes we might be focusing on the negative, or not the negative, or yeah, the bad things, or the not so nice things in the Philippines in terms of students' behavior. But let me share this to you. What I love about in the Philippines, talking about students' behavior, is that once you connect with them, like once you are connected with them, the moment you do that, you will gain respect from them. You will gain that connection, that special connection and bonding that you will treasure all throughout your teaching career. And that's what I like the most in the Philippines, with this kind, in dealing with this kindness of students. Because not only like your connection will not stop in the classroom, outside the classroom you will still have that connection with your students, and that's what I like the most. So maybe let's hear an honest observation of how are the students like here in America, especially here in the reservation area, the Native American students mostly we have here. Can you share something about that, Dexter?
Sure. I think the only big change here, because the American law is so strict with regards to like child protection policy, as just like the Philippines is copying before, right? I know you will agree with me, my fellow Filipino teachers, that we impose much discipline before, right? But in here, um, you have to be careful in dealing with your students, because they might be a case against you. It's not negative in the sense, it's just like a protection for you and for the students. um Generally, students here are, especially the Navajos, they are just like Filipinos. um some of their appearances, some of their like attitudes, family oriented, they are just like Filipinos. And the first time I stood before my students, I was just like looking at my Filipino students. They are, even me, they thought I am full-blooded Navajo.
I
And I
know.
told them I am Filipino. Um, Another thing is like, because just like what was mentioned, we have like a greater number of students in the Philippines. Like when I was handling there, I used to teach in a special science class, so it's quite smaller. I have like 40, at least the biggest was 45 in the class. But in here, the biggest class I have was like 25. My smallest class, my smallest class was like 10. 10. But that 10 is also challenging. It's also, even they are like 10, but you have like IEP students, you have like other, I don't know how to explain it, I am other misbehavior. So, I think pretty the same. They are less, just like in here, um, just like what was mentioned earlier, we are luckier here because the government has provided materials that we needed. All of my students have their laptops, so I can use everything I need in terms of technology-based teaching styles.
All right. Thank you so much, Dexter, for sharing that. And let's talk more of the students' behavior here in America. So let's have Lavena. I know you've been teaching for quite a while. Can you share something about the American students that you're dealing with every day?
I'd like to go to Cuba, where there's a lot of instruct materials there. No, I'm just kidding. He is. There is a thing. First of all, I'd like to say I give a round of applause to Jelford because I did see him having interactions with our Navajo students. Some of his students, or not some, but all of them accepted Jelford as the extra naughty cousin that you get away with a lot of things. And I did see that. I did talk to Jelford about some of these interactions that we had with our students, but as far as our behavior, our Navajo students, they all do come from different backgrounds with their families. They all have family issues, and some of the things that when they do come to school, some of them do cry for attention, and it's very difficult to balance out in your classroom, especially when you have IEP students, students who misbehave, students who want to cry for attention. And then I also had students all year long that just wanted to sleep, and I had a big deal of trying to balance that out, but I also had to figure out where they came from. In order to balance that out, I had to figure out to level with each student in order for them to understand the concepts of the class, of everyday classes. We, as Navajo students, we are very strict with our students. We always ask of them to be very respectful to any elder. So that is one of our teaching to our students. And then we do try to keep that going through the school, but you also do have to try to figure out a way to connect for them to understand what you're teaching.
Thank you so much, Lavena, for that really, really nice sharing.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we want to hear more of how are the students like here in America, because just to tell you guys, Lavena, Lavelda, and Rachel, these Filipino teachers, most of these that are in the meeting right now are actually applying for a job in the USA, and a few of them are already hired, but unfortunately, due to this pandemic thing, they have to like maybe make some adjustments on their job offers here in America. I know Joanne, Fidelina, Donald have been hired already here in America. They got a job already, but they have to like make sure, if I don't know if what's going on with the J1 thing right now, if they're still gonna pursue yeah, their travel here to America. But hopefully things gonna change still. I'm still hoping, because the classes have not started yet, so I'm still hoping to see them here joining me and the rest of the Filipino teachers teaching in America. And yes, we have Lavelda. I know you've been in the teaching field for like many years, like 12 years, as you said. So what do you think, what do you observe with students here in America?
Well, where we're at, there's a huge difference between our culture, our part of the world. The nearest town is 80, 90 miles away, and many families are going into the city in our border areas once a week to get groceries, supplies, whatever it is they need. The only thing that's closest to us is one convenience store, and that's it. And that convenience store is mostly where people go to get popcorn or nachos or snacks or something. So there's nothing available as far as essentials or immediate availability around here. So it's very rural. So even having the internet access is a luxury in a sense. There's still a lot of families without running water, without electricity. And that's what we're finding, we're facing right now is with COVID, it is really hitting our weaknesses where our families don't have the basics as far as running water goes, to wash their hands, to clean, to, and so on. And a lot of our families are having to travel long distances just to get food and essentials. And so a lot of these conveniences are not available to them. And with that, they are facing so many weighted social issues, emotional issues, mental issues because of that. And so when they come in the classroom, for a lot of our students, it's finally, we have some kind of convenience. They have access to the internet, they have access to running water, they have access to electricity. And so some of them coming to school is the safest, most calming place for them to come to. And then some students, it's a completely different a structure for them. So depending on where our students are coming from, you really have to get to know them on that level. And one of the things for our culture is we have our kinship structures, and that's where we get to know them based on our clanship. So you get a clan from your mom and a clan from your dad, and a lot of the time you find that you are related to a lot of these students. And some of these students, I've known their families for 2-3 generations back. So I know where these kids are coming from family-wise. Sorry, she's wanting to attention here. So whenever I go into the classroom, for me, the advantage for me is I am able to say, okay, this is where I'm coming from. These are my grandparents, these are my great-grandparents, and a lot of them see, okay, here's all of our relations and how we are connected in that way. And from that, we are able to then find that mutual ground so that we can say, okay, because you are family, please be patient with me and how I'm trying to ask you what to do here in my classroom. Trust me in knowing that this is for your benefit more than it is for mine. And let's continue to put this effort in because we are family. I'm not doing this to torture you. This is not my assignment that I'm forcing you to do. This is not a classroom setting that you have to sit in because you have no other choice. I'm not holding you hostage here. And so those are some of the things that help in that way. And so, and that's one of the things we face in comparing to a school that's 80 miles away. Like just 80 miles away, you have school systems where a lot of those families have the internet to their disposal. They have the conveniences to their disposal, and it's a huge difference from that. And so when you come out here, it's like literally in the middle of nowhere. I don't know how Jelford's dealt with that. I always feel bad for you guys because I was like, they're not used to this. And now you guys are stuck here for the summer, and I was like, oh, poor thing. But yeah, and it's one of those things, it just drives you kind of crazy. I'm from here, and having to stay home, especially during our lockdown, has driven me a little crazy, but I'm used to it. I'm used to being here and not having to get to go anywhere for a long period of time. Whereas a lot of our students, it's probably driving them even more insane because they can't even access their games on their phones because they don't have any more data or something like that. Or they can't even see their friends anymore because they are out in the middle of nowhere in their own homes, and they have to haul water or feed large families, and they don't even have any way or any means to see their friends anymore. And that's one of the things I know, like a lot of my students are saying they really miss being able to go to school, so that's where they can get to see their friends. Because some of them probably don't even get to see anybody at all for a long period of time. So that's one of the things that we face. And so.
All right. Thank you so much, Lavelda, for that really comprehensive, sharing. And I guess my Filipino co-teachers have now the vision of how is it like teaching in this kind of area. I'm not saying that. I mean, we're not saying that that is the same thing in the entire United States of America, but it is just how things here in the reservation area, especially here in Arizona in the Navajo Nation. And I know students in big cities like California, Florida, in Illinois, I mean in Chicago, or even other places, other cities. I know students there behave differently than what we have shared here in Red Mesa in Arizona, or even in Cuba, New Mexico. That's like Dexter has shared. All right, so pretty much we have already like an exchange of the things that we have here and in the Philippines in terms of teaching styles, in terms of students' behavior, and how we deal with the challenges that we are facing in each of our classroom setting. Now, I would love to take this opportunity to let my Filipino co-teachers and also the American teachers, the Native American teachers here, to share and answer this question. And I would love to have everyone speak one at a time. So the question is, what is it? What part of your culture, Filipino culture, Navajo culture, that you take pride of the most? That you can share, that you want the world to know that this is Filipinos, these are Filipinos, these are the Navajos, this is the Navajo culture. And I want to share this to the world. I want the world to know that this is, what we have here. So maybe I would like to start with Melanie Rosario because she's been, I think she's just in a few minutes ago. So Melanie, what part of Filipino culture that you would like the world to know, or even this American teachers that you would like them to know?
Hi, good evening, good morning in Philippines. The part of the culture that take pride of the Filipinos of being hospitality. Filipinos are very much. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. All right. They are very much hospitable, especially um, especially inviting or accepting visitors in their house, and also um, can I relate this the situation in our in the situation of the COVID crisis, being a resilient of the Filipinos.
Mm-hmm.
We have the culture of camaraderie and helping one another. So, like especially in our house, in our town here, in my family, instead of um, uh, thinking of negativities, what's going around during COVID crisis, what we did was we keep on having this stability instead of finding what's gonna be happen next. So um, being resilient, Filipino resiliency is we tend to plant, um, do have faith gardening to be able to sustain our um, wow to be able to sustain our lives here in the Philippines. Another one is um, we are very much positive in all aspects. All right. So
All right.
as what Jelford did while you are in the Red Mesa, instead of doing something negativities, I really inspired about your um, I really inspired about your posts, your TikToks, that instead of making mukmul crying, you tend to be, you made me happier.
Yeah, I,
You
I,
made me
I,
happier,
I
all of
totally
us.
understand,
That's what
what,
Filipino
yeah, I get it. I totally understand what what you're trying to convey, that Filipinos are really resilient people. We're like positive. And I believe my Native American teachers here can see that on how Filipinos here in Red Mesa behave. Like even after graduation ceremony, we did TikTok. So it was like, we're just having fun, and we're just trying to lighten things up, especially, we don't want to carry, I know there's burden, but to lighten up ourselves, we don't want to um, always focus on the negative things that are going on in our surrounding and around us, but instead we have to make, we have options, we have to make things the easy way, the possible way that we can do. Yes, Gavris, I saw you raise your hand earlier, so what do you would like to share?
Yeah. Before I continue my sharing, I just would like to know that my American teachers there in the US, that Jelford is one of an excellent teacher here in the Philippines. That is why he is also excellent there in America. So
Oh my
I will
God, you just
proceed.
said that.
So,
Well, anyway, thank you, Gavris.
well, when it comes to Filipino culture, since we are a Filipino and we are very proud with that, this is also a continuation of the idea of Ma'am Melanie on the resiliency of the Filipinos. So as a Filipino, I believe that one of the best culture that we have is what we call a bayanihan system here in the Philippines. Bayanihan, which derived from the word bayan, which means nation. It is a concept of working together as a community. So in the aspect of resiliency, we also have working together as a community here in the Philippines. So as what you have observed there in the Filipinos there in America and in the US, so they work together. I know you have observed that, and then they are having fun at the same time working together, because here in the Philippines we have that great culture, and that is really also very evident inside the classroom with our students. That's it.
Thank you so much, Gavris, for that. Um, yeah, we still have more Filipinos who wanted to share what part of our culture that you take pride, the most, and that you would like the world, or my Native American teachers here would like to know. Yes, Fidelina, you raised your hand. I saw that.
One of the culture that I think I can be proud of as a Filipino is being faithful. We are the only Christian country in Asia, and we love attending masses. We love praying. I think that's also one of the things that makes us strong in facing this pandemic. Praying. In my own experience, this pandemic has brought us uh, to pray more. In fact, every night we do pray the Rosary as a Catholic. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that wonderful sharing, Fidelina. Yes, we have Alberto. I saw your hand earlier.
For me, I think being generous, because simple act of giving here in the Philippines is so much uh, mean to us. We are very forgiving. We are very generous. We give what we have. So, like, we are sharing our knowledge and expertise to our students with no limits. So we are limitless, actually. So Filipinos are are funny, are very hardworking. Very. why, why are you no
Just go
laughing
on,
for
just go on. I'm getting your point. Yeah.
we are very considerate type of people. We are very resilient. As Mom Melanie said. So in short, we are very hardworking and we are also nice and happy for people.
Okay. Thank you so much, Alberto, for that. And I believe um, you mentioned many, many of the wonderful and nice um, a- attitude or values that Filipinos have. Yeah, as I've said earlier, I want everyone to talk about what part of their culture that they take pride the most. So who will yes, Joanne.
Yes, hello. I'd like to share that one culture that I am proud of being a Filipino is the close family ties that we have. In spite and despite the crisis that we are experiencing now, we still have this what we call family that we can lean on, and that we could never think of the problems that we are experiencing right now. And also, I could say that we Filipinos are a fun-loving people, meaning with this crisis that we are experiencing, we still have the TikTok, we still have the online selling, we still have the different foods that we use to post on Facebook and everything. And also we have this, should I say, obsession in different flowers, in, you know, buying pots and everything. And so we are a fun-loving individual, and that's what I am proud of. Thank you.
Thank you. I couldn't agree more on that, Joanne. I really, yeah, I would say that Filipinos are really individuals that are able to survive despite everything. Like name it, wars, natural calamities, everything. Even this, pandemic. We can see that Filipinos are really, really trying to make their way out of the situation, just like making positive things out of the negativities that surround them. Thank you so much, Joanne, for that. And how about Marianne? Hello, Marianne, do you hear me?
Okay. Um, yes.
Yes.
Hello.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me? Hello.
Yeah, go ahead. I can hear you.
Okay. Um, my co-teachers have already said a lot. Yeah. My co-teachers have already said a lot about being a Filipino, but just wanted to stress and to sum it up that we are family oriented. We're very proud of it. We are also God-fearing individuals because we keep always our faith despite the circumstances we are into. And we are also very optimistic that we do things, we innovate things, and we find ways and means in order to survive, resourceful, and of course, outside this pandemic situation, I would love to. I am very proud, and I would love to tell the whole world Filipinos always keep our culture and tradition. That is, yeah, they have said bayanihan, camaraderie, and of course our patriotism and our loyalty to our country because we are Filipino.
All right. So Marianne, Marianne was okay. She's out. So we'll go ahead and so aside from those wonderful things that you have shared, I would like to share that Philippines has the slowest internet connection. just to make you laugh, everyone. Everyone's so serious, but yeah, and you can see that now that I'm saying the truth. I'm not lying. Philippines has one of the countries that has the slowest internet connection. And but anyway, thank you, Marianne, for that sharing. I hope you can still get back. All right, let's hear from the Native Americans. What part of the Navajo culture that you take pride the most?
I'm so sorry. My
All right, let's start with Rachel. What part of the Navajo culture that you are proud of that you would like the world to know, or my Filipino co-teachers would like to know?
Oh, okay. So I was listening to everyone, and I really like the positive words you all use, like being resilient. Um, what else did I hear? I heard resiliency. I heard you're proud of your culture. You're proud of there's this camaraderie amongst you guys, and I've seen that while you guys were here. You know, you invite one person to the house, and all like 8 of you come. Um, it's those are some things that we have as I think being a Navajo person. But one thing I think I'm really proud of is our Navajo language, um, because I'm one of those that spoke Navajo first, and it's a hard language. Um, I spoke it, and then I went to school, and I sort of lost some of the words I used to speak. But going back to Red Mesa 5 years ago, it's like I'm picking it back up, like from Darlene and from Lavelda and like from Lavanna and like from Mr. King, and just to hear it. And I tell them, please talk to me in Navajo. Even though I'm an English teacher, I want to hear more Navajo. And I think that's what I'm really proud of, is just to hear it, even from our students. They're not all the kids know it, but they understand it. But if you go like to other schools, like if you go like to the inner part of the reservation, I think I heard it more there, like in Chinle and Ganado. I heard Navajo being spoken more, even to teachers. I don't know. Let's see, who specifically speaks Navajo at Red Mesa High School? Maybe Lavelda and Lavena can help me. But I think that's one thing I'm really proud of, is our language. Plus all the other things you all said. I think we have that all in common. I even looked up some of the words you were saying on TikTok. I'm like, what is he talking about? So I'm like, it says translation. So I click on the translation part, and I tried to say something to you one time, like in your own language. It was fun, but you never responded.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see that.
Yeah, I don't know how. I think it was a hello, but in
Uh-huh.
Filipino. So I try. I like the language part. I'm glad.
Okay.
I love to hear it when you guys are talking to each other. You and Remen and Coco and forgot Christian. I love to listen to you guys. At the same time, I like to. I don't know how you feel when you hear us talking. I know Darlene speaks it the most, and I just love it. She just goes off.
Navajo. Well,
Yeah.
I would agree in that because to tell you honestly, guys, my Filipino co-teachers, Navajo language, the first time I heard it, I was like, this is the most unique language that I heard from, for my
Aw.
entire life. Like I haven't heard as a language that as much as complicated the way it is spoken like the Navajo language. I I'm the kind of person that would like to learn just small expressions from Spanish, French, German, Portuguese, in any other language. So I can say thank you in many languages. Like in our dialect, I mean in our language, we say salamat, muchas gracias in Spanish, grazie mille in Italian, je vous remercie in French. And then when I heard about how to say thank you in Navajo, when I read it, it can only be read like ahehe, ahehe. But the way you pronounce it, it's like you're creating something in your throat. It's like ah, ahehe. So it's like, what is this language? This is the most difficult language that I've heard in my entire life. But you know what? Rachel is right. Navajo language is something to be proud of because you guys speak this. I mean, I don't know if someone not Navajo can learn as much Navajo language in a short period of time. You need to like maybe learn this language for many years in your life. I mean, you can learn to speak Spanish, you can learn to speak French in maybe, you know, just a couple of months or many just a year, but Navajo, I don't think so. You need to to explore the language like maybe half of your life before you totally learned it. That's what I'm feeling. That's for me. But yeah, but Rachel, I would agree in that Navajo language, you should take pride of your language. Thank you so much, Rachel, for that. And let's have Lavena. Um, we would love to hear from you. What part of the Navajo culture that you take pride the most?
I do agree with Rachel, what she was saying, that I do take pride in our Navajo language, and that it is a unique language. It is very hard to learn, and I was very proud of the day when Jelford showed up and said, "Lavana, come over, you got to hear this." So I went to the classroom and he introduced himself in Navajo, and I was all like, "Oh, good job." And it was all like, right on. And he used clans as well in his introduction. And I was actually really proud of him, for him to taking that approach to learn it. And that I'm also proud of the Navajo and the culture, the traditional culture that we come from. And like Lavelda said, that the main focus point that we also have is and realizing how we are related with one another through the clan system that we have. That's also one of the things that I'm also proud of. And so that in that way, when you need family or when you go out somewhere, when you need help, is there. And that is how people relate to you, and that is how other natives or other nationalities, and that's how they feel like they have the connection towards you. And I am proud of also knowing that. And that I also went to school. I also have an associate in Navajo language and Diné studies, and that one of my priorities was to go and get my educational background to get my degrees, and then come back to the school and also teach my students, the younger generation, the native culture, the native language, the Navajo, that they're trying to connect between themselves and then their grandma and grandpa. So that's the language, in that I'm also very proud of it. And I agree with everyone else with when they say that resiliency, we did come a long way from resilience. We know resilience because of our history with the long walk. That's how we know resilience. We also know resilience now that, like Lavelda said, that with this COVID crisis, that a lot of our grandparents do not have running water and they don't have sanitation, but they have resiliency because they know that this is not the first pandemic they had to deal with. There was 3 to 4 generations ago that they also had to deal with a pandemic. And they also now, in teaching the younger ones and saying that this is how I went through it, so let's figure out how to teach it and how to go through it. And that's resiliency, because our elders went through it, and they survived. Our oldest generation knows how to go through this. Not specifically because even back then they didn't have water, they didn't have hand sanitation, they didn't have Clorox wipes, but they still survived. And so the resiliency and having is what I'm really proud of, and the language. That's what I'm most proud to be and is to call at the neck for so many reasons.
Thank you so much, Lavelda. I really appreciate that. And I know you've been
Lavena.
Lavena, sorry. Sorry, Lavena. I know that the moment you're sharing those things, I'm kind of like, I have a feeling that you're becoming emotional on how you express these things. And I appreciate that because I really see that it's really coming from your heart and how proud you are as a Navajo. And I really appreciate that because I would just like to share to you one experience that we have yesterday. We went to Telluride, Colorado, and I guess you saw my post on Facebook of how beautiful the place was. I have shared that one. Now, on our way back, our car, our van, the white van, broke down. So it stopped the speedometer, how do you call that, speedometer, that one. It like it was like it goes to zero, and then the engine, like, I mean the fuel was like down to the lowest level, but the car is still moving and Coco was driving. Now, just to make the story short, we arrived safely outside the school in the dirt road right there in Red Mesa. Now we're trying to figure out, of course the car was there, we're stuck in there, so we're trying to figure out how to, like, get the car from there to bring it in our house there outside. So Hermina saw me walking and asked me what happened to you guys, and I told her about what happened to our car, so I mean to our van. So I told her that we need someone to pull the car. She offered her truck and pull us out from there, although we have to like push the car at the back of the car. We have to Louis and me and even Linda help us push the car. And I was that line from Marie White strike me. You know what, Louis, you should get a Navajo woman to survive. because we're like because Navajos are born to survive. They've been through a lot, and I was like, you are right. I mean, even us, I was ashamed of myself because I'm a guy who cannot do that thing. I mean, who cannot fix, who cannot do those jump start thing for the car from one car to another. I can't. I don't know that because, well, anyway, in the Philippines back there, I don't have a car. I don't own a car, so I don't know anything about it. But yeah, Marie White was like, you know what? We Navajos, even women are like taught how to survive in this place, Lavelda said, in the middle of nowhere. So you have to learn skills. You have to be more than resilient. You have to be a survivor in that sense. So I appreciate that, and I would just like to connect that to what Lavena has shared to us earlier. Thank you, Lavena. And Lavelda, I would like to.
You're welcome.
Lavena, thank you. And Lavelda, I would like to hear from you. What part of your culture that you take pride the most?
Hi. I don't know if you've guessed, but Lavena is my younger sister. And so anyone that calls her Lavelda, she's like, no, it's Lavena.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I kind of interchanged you because your names, Filipino teachers, they're sisters, Lavena and Lavelda. So I kind of interchanged your names because they sounds like the same, right? Lavena, Lavelda. So I'm sorry for that.
One of the things that I really, as an English teacher, one of the things that really helped me make the connection to become an English teacher, to be a reader, to be a writer, and to share reading and writing is my love of stories, and storying, being a storyteller. As a Navajo Dene person, Dene woman, I grew up just completely engrossed in our stories. We're an oral culture. We have stories that have been passed down from generation to generation. Our elders, in the wintertime in particular, always spend hours and hours um, giving us stories. And those stories are meant to build us, to strengthen us, to help us survive. So within each, so many elements around us. We have stories of the land that help us connect to the land that's around us. We have stories that help us understand how to survive in these arid conditions. We have stories of how to connect to people. We have stories of how to use our history to make us understand what's in our present and to really look for how we're going to shape our future. I mean, all of these, there's so many ways our stories ground us, they connect us, they build who we are as a people, they unify us in that way. Anywhere you go on the reservation, someone will have a story to share, and it's stories about animals, stories about the community, stories about the land, stories about herbs. I mean, Jelford, you were starting to pick some of the flowers, and you already heard somebody saying, no, you can't pick that, or you have offerings that you provide to the plants in order to harvest them. Those in itself have stories, and every component, I say, about being a human being has a story, and it helps ground you. I mean, that's how a lot of our families are lucky in the way that they say, this is where I'm from. And they don't mean in a physical location, but deep, deep, deep rooted. This is where I'm from. Our people emerged from here. They've had generations and generations and generations who've lived here. And so those stories are what carries us through, and it becomes a part of you. Your history is not just a history lesson, it's those stories that say, you know what, this is what shaped you. This is why you are Dene. This is who you are as people. And this is one of the things that we serve, our kind of being able to be a service to share those stories with others. And I don't know if Jelford sat with another Navajo somewhere who's had this long-winded explanation for probably one question that you had. And we have jokes about that. And you're like, don't ask that person to pray, because they're going to pray for the plant, your vehicle, your house, everyone. And it's like 3 hours later, the person's still praying and the food's completely cold. But it's like they have stories. They want to share these stories. And it's like these stories want to wrap you with their whole heart, because that's where it's coming from. These stories are coming from their whole heart, from their whole being. And it's these stories that are their whole family. And so they want to wrap you up in these stories because they want you to be part of the family in that way. They welcome you in that way by saying, well, this is what I want to share. This is the story or this idea or this explanation. So they'll have these really long-winded explanations like I'm doing right now. But it's like, that's one of the things I know is who makes us who we are. We have these stories, we have storytellers. Every family has that elder that everyone goes to for these stories, for these teachings. And that's one of the things I know that with Lavena and I, my dad was our big storyteller. He passed away 5 years ago, but still, we are still telling his stories and his teachings, and we're sharing those to this day. We're still saying, well, Dad said, remember when Dad said, and we use those to keep sharing it over and over again to build that strength in our families and to continue to make those connections, because that's what makes us who we are as individuals is through all of those stories. And I know Rachel and I have sat many hours just telling each other of our own stories of what shaped us and brought us to where we are, and how, and it's been healing in that way. It's been healing, it's been encouraging, and it's uplifting in its own way. There's always a story that comes to you in any moment of need. So if you need a moment to be uplifted, somebody will share a story and it will lift you up, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, now I can face this challenge and I can knock down these barriers and I'll be okay. Or if you need a story for healing, somebody will share a story and allow you to cry and mourn with you, and then you're done. And through that, you made a connection. I'm like tearing up. But it's those stories. That's one of the things I really love about being a Dana, is that we've had stories that, I mean, there's so many things a part of me as an English teacher that I love sharing in my classroom. Stories from my grandparents, stories from my dad, stories from my sister, and it's just, there's so much to share. There's so much to share in that way.
Thank you so much, Lavelda. I don't want you to cry, but I felt you became emotional with that sharing, but I appreciate that. And yes, I would agree that even before this Zoom meeting that we have now, I had a Zoom meeting with my students, like this too, like my Filipino students and Navajo students. We were only 7, but it's okay. But yeah, Carl Bigman shared that one too. That's the thing that he take pride the most. You know, the stories that he, heard and he learned from his parents, his grandparents, from everyone. Those stories about monster slayer, about those creatures, that there's this medicine man that will, if you're sick, you have to be cured and you will be healed. So all those stories, we appreciate those, because even in the Philippines, we have those kind of things. And I would agree with you that that makes who you are, that makes you who you are right now, because of those, part of the culture that you are in. So really, thank you, big thanks to that, Lavelda. I appreciate that. And just to tell you everyone, we have another Filipino teacher here from the same state, from Arizona. I have Edson here. He's also Filipino, my dear co-teachers. um, he's ahead of me here in Arizona. So I believe he has a lot of things to share too, on what are the things that he has learned so far in Arizona, in America, and how or what would you like to share to our Filipino co-teachers back there in the Philippines. Go ahead, Edson. I'm giving you the time.
Hello. Yeah, I've been here for 2 years already. So my first station was at down south Arizona. It's by the Mexican border. The name of the place is called Rio Rico. And one of the things I learned about Navajo is that they're they were very brave people, like the Navajo code talkers who helped the U.S. win the Second World War, because the native languages of America, there were Apache language, Navajo language. The Navajo language is quite difficult to track and to learn how to crack the code, and what does that mean. So it's easier for the Navajo code talkers to talk to each other, and the enemies could not crack what the code was. And so it helped the United States win the war against all those countries that are against the United States. So that's how we learned about the Navajo people, that they're, aside from the things that I heard about, the stories that they are telling, and it's true. There are a lot of stories to learn from the Navajo culture. And these stories are actually, very helpful, not only in knowledge wise, but as well as how you keep yourself, alive and to sustain yourself in this place. Like Arizona is a big chunk of desert. There's a big chunk of desert in Arizona, and the Navajo has a lot to tell you. The Navajo people has a lot to tell you about how to survive in this desert, because I'm a Filipino and I don't know how to live in the desert. So it's technically the the Navajo people has a lot to tell how Filipinos would, live in the desert, how to survive in the desert, because we don't have this much heat in the Philippines. Although it's dry, the air is dry and you don't sweat a lot, because you sweat a lot in the Philippines. Like after you shower, you sweat 5 minutes after. So you don't sweat that much, but it's kind of hot when it's kind of like scorching hot when the sun is directly on your skin. But it's not much like in the Philippines. So it's really different. And that difference actually, you know, could not, we Filipinos, we could not survive if not for the people who has already been living here, telling us how to survive and how to get along with how, the things, how things work in Arizona. Because when I came here in Arizona, um, I didn't know much of Arizona. I only knew something from the internet, and that's not sufficient. Talking to locals, talking to especially natives like Navajos, um, actually helps you way more than reading from the internet, learning from the internet. It's actually given you much more learning than just reading from the internet. People with experience can help you way more. So that's what I learned from the Navajo people. They're such great people, very brave people who actually helped the United States in winning the Second World War.
All right. Thank you so much, Edson, for that learning. Yeah, Edson has been here for like 2 years now, and I know actually he's the reason why I'm here, because he's the one who kind of recruited me to be here in America. So I appreciate your time to be with us. I know it's been like the last 30 minutes of this meeting, but yeah, I guess we kind of Filipinos and Navajos are similar in many terms. I would agree on that. And I hope, based on what we have heard from today's meeting, you can also conclude that Navajos and Filipinos are really similar in many terms. I mean, in terms of our um, resiliency, in terms of our family connection, our the way we deal with things, like we endure with many challenges. I believe we have that common ground, and maybe that's the reason why it was not hard for us Filipino teachers to get along with our coworkers, the Native Americans, our students. Although it was a challenging part, maybe first week, second week, third week, or even a month. But after that, I can say that we're able to get along with our kids, with our coworkers, because as what I've said, we have the same, we almost have the same structure. We are closely bonded. We have close family ties, and I believe that's the reason why we have this connection as people. And well, adjustment has been I have done a lot of adjustments in terms of um, the situation here, especially the place where I am in right now. Just like what Lavelda said earlier, that we have to travel like 70 miles, 70 to 80 miles just to get our groceries. But it's for us, well, we just struggle for the like maybe first 2 months that we are here. But now it's just a normal thing for us. We just go to Farmington, we go to Cortez, Colorado. And what's nice about here, guys, you know what, my co-Filipino teachers, what's nice about here, because Red Mesa's location is just an hour away from all the other three states. An hour away from Utah, an hour away from New Mexico, an hour away from Colorado. So, um, who would not love that kind of location? You can go during the first 8 days that I am here. I can proudly say that I've been to 4 states in America because we're just an hour away from all those three other states. So yeah, I'm very thankful because I have co-workers here in Red Mesa High School that are so welcoming and accommodating and really, trying to make us feel comfortable with our stay here, especially Lavelda, Lavena. Rachel is my neighbor. We're just, close to, and I mean, my room is next to her, so we can just talk, from time to time. And that's the reason why I have these three here, because they're the three co-teachers that are close to me, that I can consider that are close to me. We can just, share, things. And even we have gone to Rachel's house. When the first came here, it was Lavelda who invited us for dinner, the first Navajo dinner that we have had. And we're just so thankful because Lavelda was just so accommodating, welcoming. We felt during that time, we felt that we are so welcome in here, that we're not away from home. We're just finding home away from the Philippines. And I am so thankful for Lavelda for doing, and of course her husband too, John, was so accommodating. And yes, you know what, guys, I would love to talk to you, but you know what? I'm telling you, we exceeded like we are now an hour and 30 minutes in this meeting. I promise you that it will be 30 minutes, but I know we all have a good time sharing everything, and I would, from the bottom of my heart, well, let me unmute everyone. From the bottom of my heart, I would like to express my sincere thanks to everyone who participated in this meeting. And you are just making my cultural exchange activity report real and possible. This is gonna happen like once a year. So every year we have to do a cultural exchange activity report like this, that we have to make our co-teachers in our home country, the Philippines, and here in our workplace to interact with one another and share things. And I'm just so happy that you participated. I would like to thank you. I don't know how to thank you, but thank you. I don't know how to reward you guys for being in here in this meeting, but I really appreciate everyone's time. I know you have, it's 9:39 a.m. in the Philippines, here in Arizona, I mean, Red Mesa, it's 7:39 p.m. But thank you so much. Thank you. I really appreciate everyone's time for joining me here in this meeting. So, do you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you hear all my emotions?
I can feel it.
Can you feel it? How thankful I am for you, for all of you guys, and thank you so much.
Oh,
Even
feel it.
Edson was like
Feel it.
chatting me like, "Can I join?" Oh, go ahead, because we're just like 30 minutes to go. We're going to end the meeting, but thank you, Edson, for joining the meeting. And my Filipino teachers, my former co-teachers in the Philippines, thank you so much, guys. And for those who are hired already and still waiting for some miracle to happen, I really am praying that there is still a miracle to happen. I know that you have received already news that it's quite difficult for you to come to USA right now, but we are still hoping that things will change. But you know what? What I'm saying is that I know I have shared to you a lot of things about waiting and proper timing, and maybe this is also just a protection for everyone, because we know that the situation is not really getting any better. Even now, Arizona is like having the higher and higher number of cases for COVID-19. But I would pray for you, and please pray for me too, that I will be here for the next 2 years, 2 more years, and hoping to stay for long here in this really nice school. I'm, I started loving Red Mesa High School after I found out that this Navajo people here have many common things, you know, from with compared to, you know, the Filipinos, and I appreciate that, and I feel comfortable here. I feel home, although I'm really away from home. I'm like 13,000 or 15,000 miles away from the Philippines, but I'm feeling, you know, a family in here. But so thank you so much, everyone, for gracing this meeting. And would is there any words from the rest of the group that you would like to say before we end this meeting? Because I mean, you exceeded the purpose of this meeting. It's only like 30 minutes, you know, sharing, but we exceeded like an hour. So, and everything was so productive. I know the Filipino teachers learned so much from the Navajo teachers, and I hope my Native American co-teachers here, Lavena, Lavelda, and Rachel, you also learned a lot from, you know, from the Philippines, from the Philippine teachers, from the Filipinos. So thank you so much. And yeah, so Filipino teachers, I would love to teach you how to say thank you in Navajo.
Oh.
And you will say it all together, okay? Filipino teachers, are you ready?
Ready?
Yes.
So
Ready.
thank you in Navajo. Lavelda, Lavena, and Rachel, you can correct me if I said it wrong, but thank you in Navajo is ahehe. No, it's not. No, it's not ahe. It's you have to create something in here like
Guttural.
like ahehe. That will work.
Quite difficult.
That works. Ahehe is thank you. And also, I would like to teach the Native Americans to say thank you in Philippines. It's salamat po.
Salamat po.
Yeah, salamat po. That's thank you.
Salamat po.
Yes, thank you so much. All right, guys, I have one request, one last thing before we end this meeting. I would love to take a screenshot of everyone joining the meeting so I can take a photo of this and attach this in my report. Just make your smile, nice smiles, or you can make a wacky pose, whatever you want. At a count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you so much, everyone. I appreciate. I love you guys. Thank you. Thank
We
you.
miss you, Jelford.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye. Thank you. Thank
More
you.
meetings.
Bye.
Son, I miss
Stay
you also.
safe, everyone.
Thank
miss
you.
you
More
too.
meetings.
Thank
Be
you.
safe.
Joanne,
Nice
Melanie,
to meet you all.
Beatrice, Mamfe.
Hello, thank you.
Stay
Bye.
safe.
Hi, Robin. Thank you, Robin.
Hagone.
Yana, thank you, baby Yana. Yeah, you say Hagone in Navajo, it's goodbye. Hagone, Hagone, Hagone.
Bye.
Bye, Robin.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, Dad. No,
Bye, Robin.
Rachel. Say hi, Auntie Rachel.
Hi, Robin. My little friend.
Robin. Actually, we
Naku, so many pagkuha na. Mag-leave na ko na. Mag-leave na ko.
So we can
Jelford, did you see my kids move today?
Bye.
Thank you so much, everyone.
bye.
Bye, baby.
Bye, baby.
Bye, baby.
Mary Ann, you have 2 cameras?
Huh?
You have 2 cameras?
I can hear anything.
Oh, there's a feedback. I can hear that. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye for now.